For today's lesson, we're multiplying and dividing rational numbers, and we're focusing on fractions. We've talked about how multiplying and dividing is finding groups of or multiples of for multiplying, or splitting into equal groups for dividing. And rational numbers are any numbers that can be written as fractions, and for today we are focusing on fractions, positives and negatives. Example 1, multiplying. I find it helpful to rewrite these with the numerators next to each other and the denominators next to each other. Negative 2/3 times 4/5. When I multiply fractions, I multiply my numerator straight across, so negative 2 times 4, negative 8, and my denominator straight, 3 times 5, 15. And this one can't be simplified, so for A, I got negative 8/15. Now you'll see this written 3 different ways. Sometimes it'd be negative 8 over 15. Sometimes it'd be 8 over negative 15. And then most times you'll see it as negative 8/15. All 3 of these mean the same thing, the negative of that number. For B, I first need to write these as what you guys have probably learned to be improper fractions, but I find them quite proper because they are helpful when we are multiplying. So I just refer to them as just numerators and denominators, or numbers with only numerators and denominators and no whole numbers. The way that I do that is over here to the side. When I have 3 1/5, I multiply the 5 times 3, giving me 15, and I add the extra 1, giving me 16/5. Now, most of these, you're hopefully practiced enough in them to just do the multiplication and addition in your head. So 2 3/4 would give me negative 11/4. Now, something you might not be super familiar with, but it's going to make your multiplication easier in the long run, is what's called cross simplifying. Where I say, do 5 and 11 have anything in common that I can divide by? No. But 16 and 4 are both divisible by 4. Negative 16 divided by 4 is negative 4, and 4 divided by 4 is 1. So what I've done is I've divided 4 on the top, and I've divided 4 on the bottom. Now when I go to multiply straight across, my number is already simplified to 44/5. And that gives me 8 4/5 as my final answer. Example 2, I'm once again going to write them vertically, where I have 3/10 divided by negative 2/9. Now, instead of dividing straight across, where we're going to end up with really funky fractions, where it's 3 divided by negative 2 over 10 divided by 9, we are going to multiply Here's 2 problems for you to try. So pause, try it on your own, and then play and check your answers. Ready? Okay, for A, I'm going to make just numerators denominators. So that's negative 10 thirds divided by negative 5 halves. I'm then going to multiply the reciprocal times 2 over negative 5. And I actually can simplify here. The 5 and the 10 both have 5 in common, giving me negative 1 and negative 2. So when I multiply, I get negative 4 over negative 3. Now my final answer is going to be positive 1 1/3. You might be asking what happened to those negatives, but when we look at these fractions and treat them as if they're division, like negative 4 over negative 3, that says negative 4 divided by 3 as well, negative 3 as well. And a negative divided by a negative is a positive. For B, I rewrite them as just numerators, denominators. So that is negative 15 halves times 14 over 15. And you'll notice here where cross-simplifying comes really in handy. The 2 and the 14 are both divisible by 2. And then the 15s are both divisible by 15. So I end up with a negative 1 times 7, which is negative 7. And then 1 times 1 is 1. My final answer being negative 7.